welcome. Sorry for disappearing for a bit, but in this video we will be discovering and working on a RAG experiment. I call it an experiment because I don't have any idea what I'm doing, but we'll get there. So this might look a bit different than what you're used to if you watched my videos, so let's get this out of the way. This is windsurf. You can see this at the bottom right, and that's like, I think, one of the VS Code forks. Like, it uses the same extensions as VS Code. It's compatible with like most of them, all of them. This is not sponsored in any way, I'm just disclosing what I use. Yeah, so this comes with an inbuilt AI ability. There are of course also extensions that let you use things like GitHub Copilot, etc., but this is supposedly better integrated, so I am currently on a journey to try those, and I don't know, I guess in this video you can see if you would like it too. I am using the Pro version, you can see down here. I have most of the premium credits still left for this month because it was Christmas and I didn't code. So what you will see today is probably the Pro experience. So basically, the rough plan. This is also the AI autocomplete. I want to build a local RAG system using PG vector from Postgres. Is it called like that? In a Docker container, which should be possible, but I couldn't find a tutorial on the fly. In this, I want to save the embeddings of my personal knowledge base and be able to query it via prompts, I guess. So basically I have a lot of Markdown files in my Obsidian, and I think it would be cool to have like a local version to query those. So that's the rough plan. I think we'll start with the embedding. And deciding on then I think this is probably another video. We'll use those embeddings just if they're like, I mean, just 100 or so can probably fit into the local memory, so I don't need Docker yet. And then set up a Docker container for the vector storage, including an index using PG vector, and then yeah, of course use that. Okay, now I don't know what it wants to say about the code. So we will probably just do step 1 today and create some embeddings. Okay, apparently I started this blog post at some point, and this also has a heading: beginner tips for prompting Gen AI. Someone wanted like my input at work, so I drafted something, but this is not something I handed in at work, so it should be safe to use. So we'll use this as a like Markdown example file that we can use. Okay, now we need to create some embeddings. I think as a first try we can use the OpenAI library. Alright, so I'm gonna set up my OpenAI API key in here. If you also want to do this, you need to have your own. I'm not gonna share mine. Alright, so first step, like I said, for the first part we're gonna use OpenAI because that's probably the easiest way. If you already have an API key, especially since I have one, that's fine. And then I want to replace that with like a local LLM afterwards, because I can run like a few basic ones on this laptop. So like I said, first I will do OpenAI, which I save the API key in here, and then later on I will use my own local LLM and like compare if the results are similar. So we will import just OpenAI, I guess, and also from .env import load.env, import over. Oh my god. Import OS, probably also good. Why is it doing this? I will link the tutorial that I have below, but not yet sure if it's actually good. This is really confusing code. I think that's like a failsafe if you're not sure if you have one. Why is it not auto-completing? That's annoying. And then they also do this with Gateron. And then use square brackets. Can you chat? We'll see what they say. Oh goodness. A little bit less text would have been fine, I suppose. Here's why this approach is used. You should of course store it in an environment file and not in the code. Yes, that's a good idea. That's why I did this. Environment variables, yes, you change it depending on environment. .env is an easy way to load it. Okay. I mean, but I think you don't need the find.env if it's in the same directory. It's not hard-coded. Let's just double check. But if the env file is if your env file is in the same directory, you technically don't need to use find.env. You can simply call load.env and it will load. However, using find.env can still be beneficial because it searches for the env file in the directory hierarchy, starting from the current working directory and moving upwards. This can be useful if you have a more complex project structure or if you want to ensure that the correct env file is loaded. between this and I think that was what it wanted us to autocomplete, right? The second one. The difference between environ and getenv lies in how they handle missing environment variables. The environ, which the tutorial suggested, accesses the environment variable directly from the OS environ dictionary. If the environment is not set, it will raise a key error. The getenv is a method provided by the OS module to retrieve environment variables. If the environment variable is not set, it will return none instead of raising an error. You can also provide a default value as a second argument, e.g. getenv when default value, which will be returned if the environment variable is not set. In summary, it's more forgiving, will raise an error. But like, isn't the error nicer because you will know if something goes wrong? You want to raise an error if the environment is not set. Okay, I mean, in the second one you could check if it's none. Okay, I think we'll stick with the environ, whatever. I think this is a nice way to like learn from AI without getting lost in Google, because this is not as distracting as like Googling and then you open YouTube and then 2 hours have passed. But of course always triple check this before you use it for like anything vitally important. But it can give you a nice idea, and it's quite easy to check if this raises an error or not. I will just believe it now. Okay, so we should have our key now. I think we create a pandas data frame. They already have one. I don't, so import pandas SPD. Let me quickly install this. To create a pandas table, I could also, I think, press like Command I or something in here, but you can also use the chat. So I said create a pandas table where I save the title and content of multiple MD files, so Markdown files, and I let it know what I want to do with it afterwards, so maybe that will help. You can also change to Claude if you like this better, or their custom model, I think, is the Cascade one. To create a pandas data frame, you follow these steps: read the contents, store the data in a pandas data frame, compute the embeddings, use a library like send and transformers. Okay, I wanted to use the API, but that's fine. Then it searches for your files in the current directory. Well, currently I only have one relevant Markdown file, the beginner tips for prompting Gen AI chatbots for work. This is what I mean when I say it's like better integrated than most extensions, but the extensions will probably catch up. The other Markdown files, yeah, no, please don't use the ones in the venv directory, thank you though. Let's proceed by reading the contents and extracting the title and content. After that, we'll create a pandas data frame. It analyzed the whole file. The content starts with an introduction to ChatGPT and provides tips for using Gen AI effectively. Originally I wanted the full content in pandas, but maybe that's not a good idea. Let's create a pandas data frame. I'll write the code for you to achieve this, thank you. Oh, it can't do notebooks? Well, that's kinda inconvenient. However, I can provide you with the code snippet to create a pandas data frame from the Markdown file content. You can then paste this code. Here is the code. Oh, this works. Glob. I've never used glob in my life. What is that? Unique style path name pattern expansion. Oh, the glob module is a useful part of the Python standard library. Short for global. Glob is used to return all file paths that match a specific pattern. The more you know, honestly. Okay, can you please import this up here though? Empty contents. Read. Okay. Okay, so data for content and empty content. Split lines. Honestly, there has to be a better library for this. Is there a parsing library? Yes. Now this is not as recommended. It tells you a lot of stuff that doesn't exist, but oh well, let's just see, maybe it's right. Markdown API, which is the Python implementation of the Markdown IT parser. Markdown it, not IT probably. And it allows you to parse Markdown content and access different elements. I mean, judging by the GitHub site, it at least exists, so that's good. I'm not sure if I like this any better than this weird replacing, stripping, whatever. No, I think I actually do like it better. Okay. I think that was the... So, from Markdown it, import Markdown it. Where is autocomplete when you need it? I need to check my keyboard shortcuts. Okay, so we initialize the parser, then we tokens in the parse content, and then we will take this headline interesting. Heading open, tag 1. Okay, I guess this will then be the headline, and then use OpenAI API to generate a short summary of the whole document for the content column. Okay, then it joins everything together, I suppose. Generate a short command, OpenAI completion, which should work because we set the API key. Summarize the following document. Text DaVinci. I'm not sure if you need to set this. 50 tokens. Let's try this. I didn't like it. Okay, this is old. That's sad. Yeah, you need to use chat completion. Yeah, this looks way more than what I'm used to with the system and user prompt. Summarize the following document. Body. Okay. Yup. Like this. And then is this still... use this. Not sure if the response is still structured the same. Chat completion is also no longer supported. And this is why AI is kind of annoying. So we want to use for then you want to create from OpenAI, import OpenAI, and then where do I set the key? Is it pulling this automatically? Okay, and then we do clients, chat completion, create the model 4.0. That's not how you write 4.0. And then this will be the completion. Outdated AIs, I tell you. Pretty annoying. Okay. This is going so poorly. I swear, this is what they have on the documentation. I'm on platform OpenAI Docs API reference. How can this be out of date? What do you mean chat has no attribute completion? Oh. It's always the same, isn't it? I forgot an S. Chat completion message content. Well, clearly it's not content completion. It told me to print this, but it's like not. Is this good? I think this is nice. If it could print this with like text wrapping, it would be nicer, but that's okay. So the document provides beginner tips for effectively using generative AI chatbots like ChatGPT for work-related tasks. It acknowledges that many people might be unsure how to utilize these tools despite their simple interface. The document emphasizes that understanding what to, I guess the whole short did not really work. The document provides beginner tips for effectively using Gen AI chatbots like ChatGPT at work, emphasizing the importance of clearly stating tasks, considering different options, and providing context and prompts, with examples focusing on translation tasks. I mean, that's decent, I can live with that. Okay, so now we have created the data frame. Also, it's very ironic that we did the whole thing with like load.env, and apparently OpenAI has automated this. Fun. At least we learned something, right? Well, I've already been doing this for 50 minutes, so we will only get a little bit of the rough plan done today. So let's hope I will return to this at some point. Now let's create an embedding. I think I will just use the documentation for that. Embedding and coding format float. I think the next video will be me learning about different embedding formats. But supposedly you just use this. Client embeddings create. First of all, we have like multiple different models available, and you can apparently do this. So we have text embedding 3 large, the most capable embedding model for both English and non-English tasks, output dimension 3000 approximately. Text embedding 3 small, output dimension 1500, increased performance over second generation ADA embedding model, and the text embedding ADA 002, the most capable second generation embedding model, replacing the 16 first generation models. I guess then the large one would be the best, unless it's like very big or very expensive, but I don't think the embedding should be too big. Where can I see how much this will cost me? So text embedding 3 large is only $0.13 per 1 million tokens, and ADA is just 0.1, so it's like 30% more expensive, but like we're talking about like 10 cents per 1 million tokens, so for my small experiment I will be fine. Okay, so let's add the embedding. Oh, it really does not like global context. I will need to stop using notebooks for this, I think. Okay, so we get the completion and then we create an embedding. It completely removed my choice of how I want to embed this. This is not going too great with my AI. Honestly, it not being able to pass notebooks is kinda horrible. But okay. Let's write this myself. Input will be the latest, or just the body, I suppose. And the model will be like we just decided. Text embedding. And then what is the encoding format? Defaults to float. It can be either float or 64. Okay, apparently you don't need that, so let's look at the embedding response. Well, I guess there's not a lot to look at, right? Can I look at the fields? No. This scrolling, I swear, VS Code had like better outputs for this, right? I don't know, maybe I'm making this up. Data, embedding. Does it tell me what it returns? Object. Data, embedding, which has the embedding. And then it ends with usage apparently. Yeah, so prompt tokens were 697, and I guess that were also the total tokens. It doesn't tell you anything. It has no output because it just outputs the embedding, I suppose. It just tells you what model it used. I guess the index is only interesting if you save it. Not sure what I'm supposed to do with the index. I guess we want to have the data and then the embedding itself, or not. a list. I guess then I want the length. Okay, there's 3000. So that's the vector that we want to use, I guess. And then we just plop this in here, take the embedding, and then add this. Like that, and then display the data frame. And now we will add my what is outlier detection thing that I never finished, and see if it will add this too. Well, the summary is a bit off, I guess. You can use supervised and unsupervised learning, but you typically don't use both. It's just both have different strengths. Anyway, and explainable AI techniques. Yeah, you should look at why it's a fraud, I guess. To identify and understand anomalies such as fraudulent transactions. Okay, so we have two different embeddings. And we embedded the whole thing, I guess. Next would be finding out if you should chunk this and when you should start chunking this. But I think in the next part I will try and do a search in this. Can I already do a search in a data frame? I guess I can just loop through it, and then we will do an index in the next one, maybe. Whatever exactly an index is. I have worked with all of these systems before, but like most of it is automated, so of course I know roughly what an index is, but not specifically how it works, and this is why I want to like reconstruct this all locally to learn about all of these parts and to make better decisions about the systems at work. Let's summarize. What have we learned? We have learned how to use load.env, and then we have learned that we don't need that. We have learned that Windsurf also crashes on my computer, just like VS Code does. I have no idea why. We have then learned that, sadly, GPT-4o is out of date about its own API. It would probably be better in the browser maybe, but whatever. We have also learned that Windsurf does not like working with IPython notebooks, so I will probably try and do this with Python files for the most part and just call some methods maybe in a notebook. And then we have gone through all the Markdown files, and in a very ugly chunk of code we have extracted the heading, created a summary, and created an embedding of the whole body. We don't yet know how good the embedding is because we haven't queried it, but I think this is a good first start, and I hope this was more relaxing for you than for me, because I was a bit frustrated. But thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video where we continue this maybe, or learn about embeddings. But until then, goodbye.